We're live from New Delhi. Watch Indeed India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Engine fuel supply was cut just before Ahmedabad Air India jet crash. Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau releases preliminary probe report, says cockpit audio reveals pilots' confusion over mid-air fuel cutoff. U.S. State Department starts firing more than 1,350 workers in Trump's shake-up of diplomatic corps. Layoffs affect 1,107 civil service and 246 foreign service workers. India's Maratha military landscapes makes it to the UNESCO World Heritage List. India's 44th property to receive this recognition. Extraordinary network of 12 forts highlight strategic strength. And Wimbledon enters final stage in women's single. Iga Swiatek of Poland faces Amanda Anisimova of the US today, while in men's singles, Sinner sets up final versus Alcaraz to be played on Sunday. And on to the details now. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has released a preliminary report on the June 12th crash of an Air India Boeing 7878 aircraft in Ahmedabad, revealing both the engines shut down within seconds of takeoff. Well, according to the report, the aircraft achieved the maximum recorded airspeed of 180 knots IS at about 080842 UTC, and immediately thereafter, the engine 1 and engine 2 fuel cut-off switches transitioned from run to cut-off position one after another with a time gap of 0.1 seconds. Well, the engine N1 and N2 began to decrease from their takeoff values as the fuel supply to the engines was cut off. The report also includes a conversation between the pilots on the fuel controls before the crash. In the cockpit voice recording, one of the pilots is heard asking the other why did he cut off, to which the second pilot replied that he had not done so. Also, the report acknowledged that the CCTV footage obtained from the airport showed a Ram air turbine, that is RAT, getting deployed during the initial climb immediately after liftoff. No significant bird activities observed in the vicinity of the flight path. The aircraft started to lose altitude before crossing the airport perimeter wall. Meanwhile, Air India acknowledged receipt of the 15-page preliminary report and said it continues to fully cooperate with the AAIB and other authorities. In a post on X, Air India stated, Air India stands in solidarity with the families and those affected by the AI-171 accident. We continue to mourn the loss and are fully committed to providing support during this difficult time. We acknowledge receipt of the preliminary report released by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau today, that is 12 July 2025. Air India is also closely work with the stakeholders, including regulators. We continue to fully cooperate with the AAIB and other authorities as the investigation progresses. Given the active nature of the investigation, we are unable to comment on specific details and refer all such inquiries to the AAIB. Well, Boeing also issued a statement saying our thoughts remain with the loved ones of the passengers and crew on board Air India Flight 171, as well as everyone affected on the ground in Ahmedabad. We continue to support the investigation and our customers. We will defer to the AAIB to provide information about AI-171 in adherence with the United Nations International Civil Aviation Organization Protocol known as Annex 13. And for more, we have our correspondent Meghna with us from Ahmedabad, and we have Mr. N.K. Berry, former regional aviation expert and director, North Air India, with us for more on this. Well, welcome to the studio, sir. First, my question to you, Meghna. I wanted to know, the AAIB preliminary report raises a lot of questions after being out today. A lot of speculation is going around as to what might have happened. A lot of layers to be peeled.
Yes, absolutely. And Lipakshi, aviation experts, as we have been reporting about the preliminary report, that the switches went on from run to cutoff. Now, aviation experts are saying that these are switches that cannot be easily flipped. Now, there is something technical with these switches that these cannot be inadvertently flipped from, their run to cutoff or from cutoff to run. So this is something that is that the airline experts, aviation experts are suggesting that how did this happen, because there is obviously this conversation between the pilots that did you cut off the switches, and the other said no, I didn't. So this clearly, the conversation also paints a picture. How did this happen? Now the report also says what happened. How it happened, why it happened is something that will come in the final report. So currently, what has happened is what the preliminary report is clearly stating. Now, what we also get to understand with this report, obviously, the crash happened around 12th of June, and it is 12th of July, and this within 30 days, this is the first preliminary report that has to be submitted with all the all the protocols being kept in place, the standard procedures being followed. There was a team that was there on 12th of June of the Investigation Bureau, and also there was the DG of the AAIB who was there with his team. Forensics experts also carried on their procedures, and also all the recorders, the CBR, the FDR, all was obtained from different. Something was obtained from the debris, the other was obtained from the rooftop of where the flight crashed. So all of this was recovered by the by the authorities and the agencies, and then it was kept under 24/7 surveillance, so that there can be no mishandling of the forensic evidence that had been collected from the from the crash site. And after that, it was also taken, the black box for that matter was taken to the AIB lab in New Delhi on 24th of June. And then all the obviously the investigation and everything took place. So clearly, this preliminary report is suggesting what has happened, but how and why are some of the layers that will be probably more is obviously a subject of deeper investigation,
Right.
to see that how it has happened and why it has happened.
Right. So, Berry, we would like to know that, as we know that the preliminary report clearly puts early focus on pilots' actions and planes' fuel switch. From an engineering systems perspective, how is it even possible for both engines of a Boeing 787 to shut down within seconds of takeoff? Are the pilots also trained for this scenario? You would know.
Yes. Good morning, madam. This is because manually, if he has cut off the engine, then engines will immediately stop and again put on. So it takes time. I don't know, maybe flame out, or first we have to find out who was the pilot flying and who was the pilot not flying. And their voice should also be told who was telling why did you cut off the fuel switches. That all things you have to come to know from the report. So that hasn't come.
Right.
And ram air turbine is after the engine switch off, then that comes immediately to give the hydraulic and some systems,
Right.
so aircraft can be controlled. So these all things, have to find out.
Right, sir.
Still preliminary report, the pilot has switched off the fuel cutoff switches, and then
Sir,
on,
but
and
sir,
other pilots said, why did you cut off? That
right,
all
sir.
things
Right. So the fuel cutoff switches transition from run to cutoff within a second of each other. Now, the report also rules out sabotage. But as of now, as there is no clue, in your experience, the big question now is that how can such a critical change occur due to a technical malfunction? Or is it more likely a human error or unintended input?
That after further report, only preliminary report is this, and further when they come to know, then only we will come to know, madam. It is, if the flame out was there at such a low height, and then he switched on and off, this also, to be find out by the investigating authorities, and this is very low height. This thing never happens. Only if we get training, uh, they check with one engine cutoff with the throttle back, not the fuel switches cutoff. Fuel switches never nobody touches once it is on run, because they are all the engines, everything goes off with the fuel cutoff switches. These are made by Honeywell, but some uh, AB
Right.
given by the Boeing company also on these aircrafts.
Absolutely. Meghna, we would also like to know what has been the response from the Air India and government authorities since the release of the report today morning.
Yes, what we see the post on X by Air India, they have been clearly saying that the investigation is still ongoing, so they would not like to comment on it, but they are cooperating with the investigation and are obviously standing with the families and relatives of the victims who have lost their lives in the crash. But definitely, as it is still a subject of investigation, the Air India has refrained from saying much or giving more speculation to the preliminary report. So there has been no such major, or we can say a bigger statement made by Air India for this preliminary report, we can say as of now. But we'll definitely have to see once probably the final report comes, there will be probably some bigger statement or more important statement made by Air India. Just because it is clearly under investigation as of now, Air India has also refrained from saying much, except for saying that they are cooperating with the investigation.
Absolutely. Sir, we would also like to know, there is a computer called Swiatek, like full authority dual engine control, which controls the engines, fuel flow, auto shutdown, power requirement logics. Can you tell us about that, as it automatically manages the relight and thrust recovery sequence of ignition and full introduction?
No, madam, this fuel cutoff switch is the main control switch of the engines. Without that, nothing can be done. If that is off, then engines are off. If it is on, then engines are on. If you cut off, immediately engine go off. That is the main thing.
All right. Okay.
FADEC is a system.
Right. So, Meghna, with the investigation still ongoing, what are the next steps? And is there any indication of when the final report might be expected?
Well, first to answer the second part of your question, Lipakshi, the investigation report can be expected within 60 to 90 days. This is generally what we can understand from how promptly the preliminary report has come. So definitely the authorities and the investigation is going on in full swing. We can clearly see that how the preliminary report has come on time. So we can speculate according to that 60 to 90 days would be this would be somewhat the time frame in which the final report should come, looking at the preliminary one. But having said that, as you asked about the process of investigation, when we actually see, I would also like to throw some light on how the investigation has progressed till now. When we actually see on June 13th, I have some data with me which I would like to share with our viewers, that after the unfortunate incident happened, we see that the AIB had promptly initiated an investigation. On 13th June, the team was formed, which was a multidisciplinary team, which was obviously there was international protocol followed for it. The team was led by DG of AIB, and it included aviation medicine specialists, ATC officer, representatives from the NTSB, which is the National Transportation Safety Board, which is the government investigative agency from the state of manufacture, in this case the US, and that is required for such investigations. So this team was constituted just on the next day of the crash, and the authorities had arrived on the day of the crash itself. Now, after that, the recovery and handling of the black box was done. Now, the cockpit voice recorder, which we call the CVR, and after that, the FDR, which is the flight data recorder, was recovered. One was recovered from the rooftop and one was recovered from the debris at the crash site. Now, after that, operating procedures were issued, so that, standard procedures, so that these, the evidence that has been recovered from the crash site is under surveillance, and there has been no mishandling done with the evidence. After that, subsequently, the black boxes had been brought to Delhi at the AIB lab, where they were investigated further on 24th of June. After that, what we see, the data extraction that was done. Now, the team which is being led by the AIB DG and technical members, that team has extracted data from the black box and downloaded it at the AIB lab. After that, the CVR and FDR analysis has been done. And obviously, this has helped to actually assure the sequence of events that has been mentioned in this report, the preliminary report which has come out. Now what is the further process of investigation? But before that, what all has been taken into consideration? Now, the wreckage at the site, all of that purely forensic investigation has been done. The area is still cordoned off, as I said earlier, that in Ahmedabad, that Meghani Nagar area where the crash took place is still being cordoned. After that, both the engines that were retrieved from the wreckage have been quarantined. Drone surveillance, drone video footage and photography has been done of the entire crash site, with the photographs of which we also see in the preliminary report. Now, what we also see, additional details are being gathered. Witnesses and the lone survivor statements have been taken. Now, the final report will contain more in terms of examination will be done on the additional evidence that has been collected by the forensic teams, and then the final report will come, which will, just because we are examining the preliminary report as of now, we are seeing multiple layers and obviously speculation by aviation experts on what could have happened. But the final report is going to unveil more on why and how this has happened.
Absolutely. Also, sir, from your professional perspective, we would like to know what are the most critical technical clues investigators will now rely on beyond the voice and flight data recorders to determine the root cause behind the incident?
I think, madam, now we have to find out who was the flying captain that day, who did the takeoff and who was the PNF.
Right.
And who told that why do you cut off the fuel switches? He said, I have not cut off. So that all things will come to know, and all things medical and all, everything through those perspectives will come to know. Let this inquiry go ahead, because if fuel switches were cut off and on, in case of flame out only they can do. But he said, why you have cut off. All these things are very, very critical to say at this moment, ma'am.
All right. Meanwhile, we would like to tell our viewers that we were showing you simultaneously the visuals of the site as of now, as of today. Thank you so much for both of us, both of you joining us and giving us those details. And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khuran. And moving on, more than 1,300 State Department employees were fired since Friday in a downsizing ordered by President Donald Trump as the administration of President Donald Trump presses ahead with an unprecedented overhaul of the U.S. diplomatic corps, a move critics say will undermine U.S. interest abroad. The layoff covers 1,107 civil service and 246 foreign service officers based in the United States. The layoffs at the department came 3 days after the Supreme Court cleared the way for the Trump administration to begin carrying out its plan to get entire government departments. The conservative-dominated top court lifted a temporary block imposed by a lower court on Trump's plans to lay off potentially tens of thousands of employees. And U.S. on Friday announced for the first time sanctions against Cuban President Canel for his role in the Cuban regime's brutality towards the Cuban people. The U.S. State Department was restricting visas for the president and other high-ranking government officials. Other officials sanctioned included Defense Minister Alvaro Lopez Mera and Interior Minister Lazaro Alberta Alvarez Casas. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio accused the Cuban government of suppressing dissent and mismanaging national resources, pointing to the regime's harsh response to the July 2021 mass protest, the largest public demonstration since the 1959 revolution. Well, the protest, which resulted in hundreds of arrests, dozens of injuries and one death, drawing global condemnation. And the United States is once again delivering military supplies to Ukraine and will also be sending its special envoy Keith Kellogg to Kyiv next week, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said. Speaking in his nightly video address, Zelensky also set out a long list of areas in Ukraine where the military is facing challenges in resisting the slow advance of Russian forces in the 40-month-old conflict. He restated that Ukraine had received high-level signals from Washington and its other Western allies that arms supplies paused for a time last week had now resumed. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump said that the United States would supply weapons to Ukraine via NATO. And almost 5,000 people have been killed in Haiti since October 2024 as gang violence has escalated, particularly around the capital Port-au-Prince, according to a UN report. The surge in violence has displaced hundreds of thousands amid the humanitarian crisis, destabilizing the country and raising concerns of spillover effect in the region. Between October 2024 and June 2025, 4,864 people have been killed in Haiti amid worsening gang violence nationwide. Port-au-Prince and surrounding areas accounted for more than 1,000 of the deaths. Gangs have increasingly taken control across Haiti, overwhelming local security forces and forcing international aid organizations to scale black operations and forcing tens of thousands of residents from their homes. And U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump visited the Texas community of Kerrville on Friday, a week after flooding claimed at least 120 lives in the region. Trump, the First Lady, and Texas Governor Greg toured areas near the river, receiving a briefing from first responders amid debris left in the wake of the flood. President Trump defended the state and federal response to deadly flash flooding as he visited the Hill Country region where many children died a week ago. Search teams on Friday continued combing through muddy debris in central Texas, looking for the many still listed as missing. No survivors have been found since the day of the floods. The devastation of flash floods is clearly visible across Texas. Homes are submerged, roads are torn apart, and communities are left reeling from the sudden destruction.
The search for the missing continues. The people that are doing it are unbelievable people. We're also taking historic action to ensure that such a nightmare never happens again. We're not going to let a thing like this happen again where it can wreak this kind of devastation.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. A 26-year-old German backpacker, Carolina Wilger, was found alive but in a fragile state on Friday, 12 days after she went missing in the harsh wilderness of Western Australia, police confirmed. Her disappearance prompted a major search effort in the vast and remote outback region. Citizens of Belgrade gather in Serbia's capital, lighting candles for the victims of Srebrenica. They honor the memory of more than 8,000 men and boys killed by Bosnian Serb forces after they captured the eastern town, standing in silence and holding headscarves to represent the mothers of those who were killed. Runners participating in the North Pole Marathon are wasting no second of their training, even if they are on a ship. Ahead of the annual marathon, the competitors have been traveling aboard the French icebreaker Le Commandant Charcot. As the athletes neared their destination, polar bears could be spotted on the polar ice sheets nearby. The athletes ran for over 42 kilometers on frozen ice.
See the satellite with this.
China's Shizia imperial tombs have been officially inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Located in northwest China region, the Shizia imperial tombs date back to the Shizia dynasty, which flourished from the 11th to 13th centuries. It features 9 imperial mausoleums, 271 subordinate tombs, and a northern architectural complex. The tombs showcase a unique blend of Buddhist and Tangut architectural styles, highlighting the cultural exchange along the Silk Road. A tornado warning abruptly interrupted in Iowa Speedway, forcing attendees to seek shelter as storm conditions swept through the area. Eyewitness footage captured the tense moments as weather alerts halted on track activity and fans rushed to safety inside the Newton Club. While the storm caused a temporary disruption, the abnormal activity in the sky signaled the rapid approach of severe weather, prompting officials to immediately suspend the event for everyone's safety. Same abnormal activity was also witnessed in Maryland, where a rare shelf cloud was seen in the region a few days back. The rare cloud formation that forms along the foremost edge of a thunderstorm's gust front signals intensifying conditions. The U.S. National Weather Service issued a severe thunderstorm watch for parts of Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania that prompted tornado warnings. Following an unusually dry and scorching June, French firefighters in the Gironde region have presented a strengthened wildfire response strategy aimed at preventing a repeat of the devastating blazes that swept through the area in the summer of 2022. The improved plan includes expanded aerial support, faster mobilization, and a proactive positioning of crews in high-risk zones. With climate change continuing to heighten wildfire risk in southern France, officials are urging vigilance while highlighting the critical role of early intervention. And still to come on DD India News Now. India's Minister of State for External Affairs participates in the 15th East Asia Summit Foreign Ministers meeting in Kuala Lumpur. India successfully test fires India's beyond visual range air-to-air missile Astra off the coast of Odisha on Friday. And pilgrimage to the holy cave of Amarnath continues amid tight security arrangements and unprecedented other facilities. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. Lipakshi Khurana, time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Engine fuel supply was cut just before Ahmedabad Air India jet crash. Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau releases preliminary probe report, says cockpit audio reveals pilots' confusion over mid-air fuel cutoff. U.S. State Department starts firing more than 1,350 workers in Trump's shake-up of diplomatic corps. Layoffs affect 1,107 civil service and 246 foreign service workers. India's Maratha military landscapes makes it to the UNESCO World Heritage List. India's 44th property to receive this recognition. Extraordinary network of 12 fort highlights strategic strength. And Wimbledon enters final stage in women's singles. Iga Swiatek of Poland faces Amanda Anisimova of the US today, while in men's singles, Sinner sets up final versus Alcaraz to be played on Sunday. And moving on, India's Union Minister of State for External Affairs and Textiles, Pabitra Margarita, participated in the 15th East Asia Summit Foreign Ministers meeting in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on Friday. Minister of State for External Affairs, Pabitra Margarita, affirmed India's unwavering support for ASEAN unity and centrality, emphasizing its alignment with the country's Act East policy and the Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative. As the East Asia Summit process marks its 20th anniversary this year, India remains its commitment to strengthening the platform, reinforcing its role as a key forum for dialogue and cooperation on regional and global issues. The meeting also reviewed ongoing EAS cooperation and discussed its future direction, while also exchanged views on regions. BJP President JP Nadda on Friday met the chairman of the Saudi India Business Council, Abdulaziz Al Ghaitani, in Daman, fostering India-Saudi economic ties. The discussions, held amid ornate settings, focused on investment opportunities in fertilizers, pharmaceuticals and more, aligning with Saudi vision of 2030's diversification goals. Nadda highlighted a 2023-24 bilateral trade of $43.3 billion and encouraged Saudi firms to invest in India. The visit showcased innovative farming tech, including drone pesticide spraying, which boost cotton yields of 20 to 30%. Per a Nature Sustainability study, both nations aim to strengthen their Strategic Partnership Council established in 2019. And President Draupadi Murmu attended a special screening of the film Tanvi the Great at the Rashtrapati Bhavan Cultural Centre in New Delhi. The President lauded the film's storytelling and its cultural significance, emphasizing its role in promoting Indian cinema. The film gives the message of inclusion through the story of a young autistic girl who fulfills her dream with resolve and resilience. The event, held on Friday, showcased the cinematic work of acclaimed Indian actor and director Anupam Kher, featuring Anupam in the lead role alongside debutant Shubhangi Dutt. With Game of Thrones star Ayan Glenn and Boman Irani, Tanvi the Great tells the inspiring story of a determined young woman with autism who embarks on a journey to fulfill the dream of a late father and officer in the Indian Army. The screening of the film in Rashtrapati Bhavan was attended by dignitaries, artists and film enthusiasts.
कि राष्ट्रपति महोदया जी ने, मैडम प्रेसिडेंट ने हमारी फिल्म देखी कास्ट के साथ और क्रू के साथ, और मेरे लिए वो विजुअल हमें ज़िंदगी भर याद रहेगा कि वो फिल्म के अंत में खड़े होकर ताली मारी उन्होंने और इनसे कहा कि बहुत अच्छा काम किया। प्रेसिडेंट साहिबा ने फिल्म देखी, जो कि तीनों आर्म्ड फोर्सेस की चीफ कमांडर हैं। ये फिल्म आकांक्षाओं की है, आर्मी की है, आर्मी के शौर्य की तो है ही है, लेकिन आर्मी की उदारता की भी है।
Well, India successfully test-fired India's beyond visual range air-to-air missile Astra with 100 km strike range off the coast of Odisha on Friday. The missile is equipped with indigenous radio frequency seeker from Su-30 Mk1 platform, which beams out a radar signal to find and track the targets. The successful flight tests have re-established the accuracy and reliable performance of Astra weapon system with indigenous seeker. Astra BB-RAM has a range exceeding 100 kilometers and is equipped with state-of-the-art guidance and navigation system. In addition to various laboratories of DRDO, more than 50 public and private industries, including Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, have contributed towards successful realization of the weapon system. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh complimented DRDO, IAF and industry involved in the design and development of RF Seeker and stated that the successful testing of the missile with indigenous Seeker is a major milestone in critical defense technology. And moving on, the Ministry of Railways has announced several important reforms to make the railway recruitment process transparent, simple and technology-based. These reforms are aimed at convenience of candidates, fairness in examinations and speed up appointments. An official statement said the significant move aims to uphold integrity and ensure fairness by achieving a zero cheating cases record in the upcoming June RRB exams. According to the new annual recruitment calendar system, to complement the biometric security, the Railway Recruitment Board is also set to implement 100% mobile jammer deployment across 7,000 exam centres throughout the country. Now the time from notification to examination has been reduced to an average of 8 months, 325 plus exam centres across the country operational every day. Exam centre now within 250 kilometres from the candidate's home up to a maximum of 500 kilometres. 100% mobile jammers used, zero cheating reported in June 2025 RRB exam. 5,500 plus high-capacity servers, paper reviewed and translated by experts. Internal promotion also fast and fair with CBAT and tablet-based exam. 10th, ITI or National Apprenticeship Certificate now valid qualification for Level 1 post. Candidates who do not join, others get immediate opportunity in their place. Now religious symbols will not be banned in the exam, but security standards will be followed. RRB websites have been made PWBD friendly and accessible. And in a major step towards safeguarding India's digital future, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT-IN and CISA unveiled a white paper transitioning to quantum cyber readiness in New Delhi. METI Secretary S. Krishnan called quantum readiness a strategic imperative.
That has already started and is going on at various levels within the government and amongst various organizations towards getting ready for a quantum world. I think the National Quantum Mission was launched about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, and there's a lot of work going on there. The significance of this event today is also that it represents a public-private partnership. In addition to CERT-IN, we also have CISA, who has joined us in bringing out this paper, and spreading the awareness of the quantum threat and making sure that there is more preparedness for this threat is an important objective of what this paper does. Not only is it a public-private partnership, it is a public-private partnership between an Indian entity and what is happening here.
While echoing this, CISA CEO Doordarshan Shantamurthy said CISA and CERT-IN's combined expertise offers a holistic strategy to protect India's digital ecosystem. The white paper aims to guide organizations in beginning their quantum-safe migration and preparing for the next era of cybersecurity.
Very much. I think one of the key things is what the industry is looking for is guidance on how we need to prepare against quantum security threats. And this white paper is a seminal paper in that direction, which will lay a path for Indian organizations to follow and prepare themselves for the quantum world. So one is on the quantum side. I think there's a lot of innovation that is happening thanks to the quantum mission. On the quantum security side, in the post-quantum cryptography and those kinds of aspects, I think there's a lot of work that is being done too. And companies like CISA, which is also pioneering in quantum security, we are doing our level to actually make sure that we are ready for the PQ, for the post-quantum world. We are looking to partner with global organizations, other countries, and then see how we can share our knowledge in the deep tech cybersecurity space.
And Maratha military landscapes of India have been added to the UNESCO World Heritage List, becoming India's 44th property to receive this global recognition. The historic decision was made on Friday during the 47th session of the World Heritage Committee in Paris. This global accolade celebrates India's enduring cultural legacy, showcasing its diverse traditions of architectural brilliance, regional identity and historical continuity. Located across a range of diverse terrains, from coastal outposts to hilltop strongholds, this extraordinary network of 12 forts reflects a sophisticated understanding of geography and strategic defense planning. Together, they form a cohesive military landscape that highlights the innovation and regional adaptation of fortification traditions in India. India ranks 6th globally and 2nd in Asia-Pacific region for the most in number of World Heritage Sites. And Prime Minister, Culture Minister, along with Chief Minister of Maharashtra, lauded the historic milestone and congratulated the people of India for this achievement. Taken to social media X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, and I quote, Every Indian is elated with this recognition. These Maratha military landscapes include 12 majestic forts, 11 of which are in Maharashtra and 1 in Tamil Nadu. When we speak of the glorious Maratha Empire, we associate it with good governance, military strength, cultural pride and emphasis on social welfare. The great rulers inspire us with their refusal to bow to any injustice. I call upon everyone to go visit these forts and learn about the rich history of the Maratha Empire." Unquote. And now some weather updates. Monsoon tightens its grip across India. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for East Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Heavy rainfall likely to lash East Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh during 12th to 17th of July. New Delhi witnessed a warm and humid July 12th with temperatures peaking at 37 degrees Celsius, offering evening relief. The coming week signals increased monsoon activity, with Sunday expected to be the wettest day, bringing cooler temperatures but also potential localized flooding. Plan outdoor activities accordingly. In Jammu and Kashmir, isolated heavy rainfall is likely between July 14th to 17th, while Uttar Pradesh, Odisha and Bihar can witness rain still early next week. And moving on, the 10th batch of devotees departed from the twin base camps of Baltal and Anwan for their pilgrimage to the holy cave of Ahmedabad this morning amid tight security arrangements and unprecedented other facilities. According to officials, 18,010 pilgrims visited holy cave, paid obeisance on Friday, which took total number of pilgrims performing darshan to 1,63,726 yatris in last 9 days since the holy yatra started on July 3rd from twin tracks. The 38-day annual Amarnath pilgrimage to the 3,880-meter high Holy Cave Shrine in South Kashmir began on July 3rd and will conclude on August 9th. Free langar or community kitchen services continue to support pilgrims en route, especially at the Jammu base camp and several locations along the National Highway. Amarnath Yatra is an annual pilgrimage to the Amarnath Cave where devotees pay homage to Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. Meanwhile, in order to ensure safe and uninterrupted pilgrimage to the holy shrine of Amarnath, the Indian Army has launched a high-intensity security operation, Operation Shiva 2025. The special security initiative has been taken in the wake of the Pakistani terrorist attack on tourists in Pahalgam in April this year, following which the Army had launched the subsequent punitive counter-terror exercise Operation Sindoor. Army has deployed more than 8,500 troops to secure the holy Amarnath pilgrimage route and Amarnath Cave in Jammu and Kashmir. 9 medical aid points along the mountainous route, a 100-bed hospital and oxygen supply of more than 2 lakh litres has been created by the Army, apart from 150 medical personnel and Army doctors. Well, the devotees gathered in large numbers to offer prayers at Hanuman Gadi Temple on the second day of Sawan month. Sawan holds a special place in Hindu mythology. Devotees undertake fast and offer prayers to seek the blessings of Lord Shiva during this period. The chanting of Shiva mantras, singing bhajans and performing Rudrabhishek are common practices observed with fervour across households and temples during Sawan month. This year, Sawan month commences from July 11th and will conclude on August 9th. Meanwhile, a flood of Kanwadis has started pouring in West Uttar Pradesh, and in such a situation, the most unique Kanwad is being seen in the name of Operation Sindoor. The Kanwad has been prepared by the youth of Kranti Dhara Meerut with the concept of Operation Sindoor. It will go to Haridwar and bring back water from Haridwar to Meerut. And still to come in DD India News Hour. Chile calls for no obstacles to copper trade as the red metal is key to green transition. And we'll give you all the highlights from day 2 of England versus India, third test at the Lords. And the lotus flower blooms again in Bula Lake after 30 years, sparking hope in Kashmir for sustainable income.
This week, we meet people who are showing us that real change and action does not really have to be perfect or loud. It just has to begin somewhere.
What looks like a mere damp swamp is actually a mud flat. But this is the basis of the coastal food system. It provides food for several bird species and other life forms.
As the saying goes, we serve society for our own well-being and to better our community. Seeing improvements in our area brings us satisfaction.
The approach generally adopted by India towards Antarctica is that of the common heritage of mankind, humankind, as one would say right now.
Trees are our lifesavers. They give us oxygen, and it's unfair to harm them by hammering iron nails into them just for the sake of ads.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Nipakshi Kuran, and on to some business news now. Wall Street ended lower on Friday with Meta Platforms weighing on the S&P 500 after President Donald Trump intensifies uncertainty swirling around trade policy. Trump, late on Thursday, ramped up his tariff assault on Canada, saying the U.S. would impose a 35% tariff on imports next month and plan to impose blanket tariffs of 15% or 20% on most other trading partners. The S&P 500 eased from a record high the day before, with caution prevailing after Trump on Thursday imposed 50% tariffs on Brazil. S&P 500 lost 0.34%, Nasdaq Composite lost 0.23%, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.65%. Meanwhile, European Union is bracing for a possible letter from Trump with details on fresh tariffs. The EU initially hoped to reach a comprehensive trade deal, but after months of difficult talks, a person with knowledge of the US-EU talks said it was hard to predict if the bloc would receive a letter announcing more tariffs or when any agreement might be finalized. Pharmaceuticals and autos are among the areas in focus between the US and Europe. The rate for the EU proposed on the April 2nd Liberation Day was double the rate currently faced by the bloc. And Chilean President Gabriel Boric on Friday called on the international community not to place obstacles or penalties on copper, as it is a key metal for decarbonization and the fight against climate change. The statement comes after this week's announcement by US President Donald Trump that he will impose a 50% tariff on the red metal. Boric also said that the metal is vital to confronting the climate crisis and helping to replace fossil fuels. Chile is a major supplier of copper cathodes to the United States, although most of its production is directed to China and other Asian markets. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. A new women's champion will be crowned at Wimbledon 2025 as five-time Grand Slam winner Iga Swiatek faces off against Amanda Anisimova in the blockbuster final. As both players gear up for the final, the centre court is ready to witness blockbuster showdown. Here's a report.
Long known for her dominance on clay, Swiatek has reshaped her game this season, working specifically on her movement and serve to finally find comfort on grass. After reaching her first grass final in Bad Homburg and now her second here at Wimbledon, the signs are clear. She's more than just a clay court queen. When Iga Swiatek walks out for Saturday's final, she'll be chasing her sixth Grand Slam title, but her very first at Wimbledon. Swiatek has dropped just one set all tournament, that too in round 2. A win on Saturday would make her the fastest woman to 100 Grand Slam match wins since Serena Williams in 2004. But standing in her way is one of the most compelling stories of the season, Amanda Anisimova. A year ago, Anisimova didn't even qualify for Wimbledon. Ranked outside the top 180 and returning from a break from tennis, few saw her resurgence coming. But since then, she has won a WTA 1000 title in Doha, reached another final in Canada, and is now into her first ever Grand Slam final. The American powerhouse has shown resilience, and on Saturday, she'll break into the top 10 for the first time. She arrives at the final on the back of a stunning upset over world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka in the semis. For the 8th consecutive year, Wimbledon will crown a new women's champion. The final will crown a new queen of centre court, whether it's Iga Swiatek completing her Grand Slam set or Amanda Anisimova becoming the first American Wimbledon winner since 2016. Sports Desk, DD India.
While in the men's finals, Jannik Sinner will face Carlos Alcaraz on Sunday. While number one Jannik Sinner was a dominant straight-set winner over seven-time champion Novak Djokovic. This is Sinner's fifth consecutive win against Djokovic, and he will bid for a third title in a row now. While Carlos Alcaraz is into a third successive men's single final at Wimbledon and will bid for a third straight title on Sunday, he defeated American Taylor Fritz in 4 sets in today's first semi-final. An update on the third test between India versus England underway at Lord's. On day 2 on Friday, Jasprit Bumrah claimed a brilliant 5-wicket haul. Joe Root struck a sublime century and KL Rahul anchored India's reply with an unbeaten 50. At stumps, India were 145 for 3, trailing England by 242 runs with Rahul at crease with 53 and Rishabh Pant with 19. Captain Shubman Gill, looking to break Rahul Dravid's record for most runs when Indian in a test series in England, fell short after edging Vokes to keeper Jamie Smith, who stood up to the stumps. With the series tied at 1-1, the third test is finally balanced heading into day 3. And for more, we have Narayan Singh joining us on the test. Well, Narayan, tell us about the highlights of day 2 of the third test match between India and England.
It was a wonderful day and an exciting contest between bat and ball. We saw England scoring a good target on the board, and it was because of the Jamie Smith. And we saw in the first match, in the second match also, he was like a real threat to the India's chances. Otherwise, their score would have been very low. He scored a fantastic half century. But the way Bumrah bounced back, the way Bumrah, we can say that one of the greatest bowler of all time, his 13th fifer overseas in the 35 matches shows that what kind of bowler he is. And if you take a look yesterday's his performance, the conditions were not conducive for the bowling and were not up to the mark. If you take a look at the pitch, it was there was nothing in the pitch for the bowlers, and Bumrah respected the conditions and he showed his class why he is different from others. He has we can say that when the conditions are not up to the mark, then also he can take wickets. He was bowling against the slope. That was the key of his bowling yesterday. And we know that it is only Bumrah who can do such sort of things, and the fantastic cricket by him. And the way KL Rahul just went wicket for bowling, he was there and just stitched a wonderful partnership with Rishabh Pant. And both of them are now there in the field. And today, their performance will be decided where the test match will go, because India is still trailing by 242 runs in this test. A lot will depend today how they play, and especially we know that yesterday there was a controversy regarding the Duke ball, Duke red ball, because it was because the ball was getting softer too early. Let's see what happens today as the game progresses.
Right, and also surely Jasprit Bumrah's 5-wicket haul was extremely crucial in shifting the momentum back towards India. And now with the series levelled at 1-1 and India still trailing by 242 runs, what do you think will be the key on day 3? Consolidation from Rahul and Pant, or a more aggressive approach to close the gap quickly?
Definitely, here is all about not playing more aggressive cricket, but intelligent cricket, as we saw in the first 2 matches. And in the last 3 years, we saw England was playing baseball. But in the third test match, they returned to the traditional cricket. They're back to the basics. And on day 1, we saw Shubman Gill saying to the England team, where is your entertaining cricket? Why the boring cricket has been returned? Even we saw Siraj is saying, baseball, come on, I want to see you. So the England team, who won their 75% matches while chasing in the baseball era, they are also back to the basic. I think that is the big win of the Indian cricket and Indian team. And today we are hoping that KL Rahul, and the way we saw Rishabh Pant in the tournament playing a very crucial knock for the Indian team. And in the past also he has played many heroic knocks. He will repeat that thing. And India definitely from here at least need a lead of at least 80-90 runs in the first inning. Then only they can go ahead and take a fantastic commanding position here in this match. If India wins at the Lords, definitely England will shatter. Already their baseball philosophy, their ego, and their, we can say, the arrogance of the baseball has been shattered by the India today. It needs to be seen how the Indian team approaches. Definitely a lead of 80-90 runs will be enough to be there in the match.
All right. Thank you so much, Narayan, for all those details. And in a remarkable revival, the iconic Bular Lake in India's Jammu and Kashmir has witnessed the return of the lotus flower after 3 decades. Once a defining feature of the lake, the lotus vanished following the 1992 floods. The turnaround is credited to the Bular Conservation and Management Authority, which launched a massive desilting project in 2020. Locally known as Nadru, lotus stems are a culinary delicacy in Kashmiri cuisine and a potential source of livelihood. The return of the lotus has revived hopes for sustainable income in a region facing economic challenges. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.